We tend to think of high intelligence as this incredible superpower. But what if that very same trait, the one that lets you see patterns and solve complex problems, is also the reason you feel totally alone in a crowded room? Today, we're going to dig into the fascinating paradox of intellectual isolation.
Seriously, have you ever had that feeling where it seems like everyone else is tuned into the same radio station, but you're picking up a completely different signal? It's more complex, maybe a little quieter, and it can feel incredibly disconnected. Trust me, it's way more common than you think. And it's so easy to take that feeling personally, right? To think, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just connect? But hold on. What if we flip that question on its head? What if that feeling isn't some personal flaw, but just a side effect of having a mind that's wired a little differently?
So let's explore this. Let's really get into why having a high IQ can sometimes create these very real, very frustrating social hurdles. This isn't just a vague feeling. It's a known phenomenon with some pretty clear patterns.
Yeah, this is not just a hunch. Researchers have actually identified common, observable patterns that almost act like little breadcrumbs, all leading to this unique kind of intellectual loneliness. So let's start by looking at where these signs tend to pop up first. And the first place they almost always show up is in our most basic day-to-day interactions, just talking to people. Okay, take a look at these and see if any of them ring a bell. First up, small talk. It can feel like a total chore, right? Like you're just going through the motions. Then there's the translator effect, this constant need to simplify your ideas or dumb down your vocabulary just so people get what you're saying. And your humor. You make a clever joke or a reference and it just falls flat. All of this really boils down to that last point. You're just craving depth. You want to get into the why of things, not just skate on the surface. Now, to really get the next set of signs, we've got to talk about this key concept, asynchronous development. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It just means your brain, your emotions, and maybe even your social skills are all growing at different speeds. It's why you might have the analytical mind of a 40-year-old, but are still navigating the social world of a 20-year-old. That mismatch inside you is a huge piece of the puzzle. All right, so keeping that idea of asynchronous development in your back pocket, let's look at how this can shape your entire perspective, your whole worldview. These next signs go way deeper than just a conversation. This is where that classic old soul feeling comes in, that sense of being sort of out of time with your peers. Your curiosity isn't just a passing interest. It's this insatiable hunger to take ideas apart and see how they work. And then there's the really tough one, that profound loneliness you can feel even when you're literally surrounded by people. It's like you're an observer, not a participant. And finally, that powerful brain can easily turn on itself, making you hyper-aware of your own flaws and super self-critical. So when you put all of these pieces together, the conversational struggles, the asynchronous development, the internal perspective, you land on what we can call the intelligence paradox. It's this frustrating gap between what people think high intelligence is like and the often lonely reality. Here it is, laid out plain and simple. The expectation is that being smart is a golden ticket, right? That it should make social connections easy. But the reality is that it can actually create barriers. The very way you think and speak can, without you even meaning it to, create distance. The so-called advantage comes with its own hidden set of challenges. And I want to be super clear here. Recognizing this in yourself is not about ego or thinking you're better than anyone. It's not about that at all. It's about self-compassion. It's about finally putting a name to a very real, very tricky social dynamic you might be dealing with. Because once you can name it, you can start to understand it, and that's the first step to navigating it. So that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? If we're all broadcasting on slightly different frequencies, how do we stop building walls and start building bridges? How do we find our people without closing ourselves off from everyone else? Honestly, those are the questions that really matter, and just starting to ask them is a huge step in the right direction.